History has recorded several African women leaders whose roles left significant impact in the development of their respective nations. The likes of Ghana's very own Nana Yaa Asantewaa, Queen Aminatu of Nigeria, Queen Ranavalona I, King Ahebi Ugbabe, and many others displayed so much wisdom, perseverance, leadership, and integrity, and they ruled with power and precision. How can such great queens ever be forgotten? In this video, we bring to you one of the greatest women in African history, Queen Nzinga Mbade. In the 17th century, the southwest region of Africa, now known as Angola, stood divided. It took years and the influence of one remarkable woman to unite it. Sometime around 1583, a little girl named Nzinga Mbade was born. Hers was not an easy entering into the world. Legend has it that she was born with her umbilical cord around her neck. Many villagers believe that individuals born in such manner would grow up to be proud, powerful people. So too, the story goes, that a village-wise woman told Nzinga's mother that her daughter would grow up to be queen. Nzinga's father was the king of Ndongo, one half of Angola's divided nation. As she grew up, Nzinga was privy to how her father ruled, and she became invested in the struggle the people of Ndongo faced with their enemies. All of this transpired at a time when Portuguese missionaries had identified Angola as a prime target for the slave trade. The king at first worked with the Portuguese to arrange a slave trade on the condition that they spare his people. Upon the king's death, however, the Portuguese saw no reason to continue to honor the arrangement. They proceeded to throw his son in jail and took control of the kingdom. Nzinga was not content to sit idly by and let the Portuguese remain in power. She went straight to the Portuguese governor's office with the intention of demanding not only the safe return of her brother, but the release of Angola's people from slavery. The governor refused to offer Nzinga a chair when she entered his premises. So, Nzinga, who at any given time had over 50 male servants at her service, told the servant to get down on the ground and create a perch upon which she could sit. Upon settling onto the servant's back, Nzinga proceeded to launch her negotiations. When the discussion ended, Nzinga told the servant to stand, at which point she slit his throat in front of the Portuguese governor. Realizing, perhaps, that they were dealing with someone far more powerful than they realized, the Portuguese government accepted and returned her brother. Soon after her brother and her nephew both died, it is believed that Nzinga had them both killed so she could ascend to the throne. Other historical accounts post that her brother committed suicide upon realizing the state of the country and his inability to face the turmoil. In any case, in 1624, she became Queen Nzinga of Ndongo, though not without a fight. Queen Nzinga had plenty of political rivals who balked at the idea of a female monarch and sought to run her out of town. She was forced to leave the country, during which time her sister became a puppet ruler for the Portuguese. Little did the Portuguese know that she was also acting as Queen Nzinga's spy, keeping her abreast of all the happenings in Ndongo after she fled. By 1629, Queen Nzinga had established a colony within the region, Matamba, from which she hoped to either defeat the Portuguese or to convince them to enter a peace treaty. She began lobbying for the kingdom to take in refugees from the slave trade, and with the help of her rather impressive harem of Dutch soldiers, attempted to cut off slave trade routes, often by force. Realizing too that Matamba's location made it well suited for trade, Queen Nzinga also cultivated the kingdom's commerce. Legend records that Nzinga executed her lovers. She kept 50 to 60 men dressed as women, and she had them fight to the death for the privilege and duty of spending the night with her. In 1644, Nzinga defeated the Portuguese army in Ngoleme, but was unable to follow up. Then, in 1646, she was defeated by the Portuguese at Cavanga, and in the process, her other sister was captured, along with her archives. These archives also showed that her captive sister had been in secret correspondence with Nzinga and had revealed coveted Portuguese plans to her. As a result of the woman's spying, the Portuguese reputedly drowned her sister in the Nkwanza River. The Dutch, with whom Nzinga had formed an alliance with, sent reinforcements, and with their help, Nzinga routed the Portuguese army in 1647. She then laid siege to the Portuguese capital of Massangano. The Portuguese recaptured Luanda with a Brazilian-based assault, and in 1648, Nzinga retreated to Matamba and continued to resist Portugal for the next 20 years. She implemented guerrilla warfare tactics and had begun to order trenches to be made around her island, created hidden caves, and stocked up on supplies to prepare her people for a potential long-standing siege. She also made an unusual decree, establishing her kingdom as a safe haven for runaway slaves seeking for refuge from the European colonists. In those 30 years fighting against the Portuguese, she created false alliances with neighboring kingdoms, expanding her reign farther and farther, even as she got older. On November 24, 1657, the Portuguese decided to give up their claims of Ndongo, and the land was returned to its traditional leader through a treaty ratified in Lisbon by King Pedro VI. After the wars with Portugal ended, she attempted to rebuild her nation, which had been seriously damaged by years of conflict and overfarming. She developed Matamba as a trading power by capitalizing on its strategic position as a gateway to the Central African interior. She devoted her efforts to resettling former slaves and allowing women to bear children. Despite numerous efforts to dethrone her and the many attempts by the Portuguese to kill her, Nzinga died a peaceful death at the age of 82 on December 17, 1663 in Matamba. Matamba went through a civil war in her absence, but Francisco Ngola Kanini eventually carried on the royal line in the kingdom. While Nzinga had obviously not overcome the idea that females could not rule in Ndongo during her lifetime and had to become a male to retain power, her female successors faced little problem in being accepted as rulers. The clever use of her gender and her political understanding helped lay a foundation for future leaders of Ndongo today. In the period of 104 years that followed Nzinga's death in 1663, queens ruled for at least 80 of them. Nzinga is a leadership role model for all generations of Angolan women. Nzinga was embraced as a symbol of the people's movement for the liberation of Angola during Civil War. While it wasn't until 1975 that the entirety of Angola achieved independence, its continued fight was rooted in Queen Nzinga's legacy. She died in 1663, well into her 80s, and is remembered as a fierce and persistent leader who is honored throughout Africa.